Hello, wonderful person. Welcome back to Recap Hub. Today I will cover a harrowing American psychological thriller titled Run. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie starts off in an operation theater, where a doctor is performing CPR on a newborn, surrounded by other doctors. One of the doctors is taking a woman in a wheelchair to the same room, presumably the mother of the child. The woman rushes to the glass bassinet as the EKG machine beeps continuously in the background. She cries tears of joy as she asks the doctors whether the baby will be okay. The following scene is in a room full of parents, which initially comes across as a rehabilitation clinic. It then turns out to be a monthly homeschool meeting. The meeting leader asks Diane, the same woman from the first scene, how she feels about her daughter Chloe going to college in a few months. Diane replies that they have not heard from all colleges yet, so nothing is confirmed. She states she has been upbringing Chloe for the past 17 years and feels great about her daughter going to college. One of the mothers in the session, crying earlier about his son leaving soon, wonders about Chloe's disability. Diane firmly responds that Chloe has faced more emotional and physical challenges than most adults ever will since she was born. At home, Chloe wakes up early in the morning, but unlike most teenagers having the luxury of their able feet, Chol has to get in a wheelchair. She applies cream to the rashes on her back and takes a handful of medicines before using a hybrid lift to get downstairs in a wheelchair. After having breakfast, Chloe checks her blood glucose level with a Lancet device, which seems to be a little bit high. As prescribed, she takes an insulin injection. Later, she undergoes regular physiotherapy for her legs. By the looks of it, it looks like a miserable life for Chloe. Diane then informs her of the study schedule for the day as Chloe gets to it. Sometime later, a mailman comes. Chloe dashes to the door only to be disappointed as she finds that it is not a letter from a college. Diane reassures her if there is even one college letter, she will deliver it straight to Chloe. At the dinner, Chol tells her mother joyfully that she beat her record on an arm bike today. After finding a low blood glucose level, Diane hands her a sweet as any good mother would. Diane sleeps watching the videos of Chloe's childhood. The next day, Diane comes back home after purchasing groceries. She gets busy on a call, so a naughty Chloe quickly jumps on the groceries to get her extra share of chocolates. Chloe notices something unusual when she puts back the paper bag. She sees a bottle of pills. Of course, nothing unusual in it, but the bottle is labeled with her mother's name like a doctor had prescribed it. It is uncommon since Chloe has only been taking medicines in the house all these years. Later that night, when Diane brings the regular prescription for Chloe to take before sleeping, she mentions that one of the companies to produce a specific medicine, Zocor, has gone under, so the doctor has written a new prescription. Just as Chloe is about to take the pill, she realizes one of them is the same green one she saw earlier. When Chloe questions Diane that she thought it was hers, Diane tries to stall her. When Chloe confronts again that Diane's name was on the prescription, Diane replies that her name was on the receipt looped around the side of the bottle, not the prescription. Chloe remains unsatisfied with her mother's answer, so she keeps wondering. The next day, she tries to reach through the cabinet with a machine-like stick, since she cannot stand herself. She hears Diane's vehicle approaching outside as she grabs the bottle. When Chloe sees the bottle, it labels her name since Diane has probably replaced it. She rips it off and sees Diane's label still on the bottle. The usual. Diane brings Chloe the medicines at night. Chloe takes them in front of her, but when Diane leaves the room, she spits out that green pill. Later that night, Chloe silently gets downstairs to use the computer. She opens Google and searches Trigoxin, the name of that green pill, only to find that the internet is not working. But this is not the anomaly of the scene. When Chloe leans back, the viewers can see her mother sitting in the dark, in the kitchen, late at night. It looks like one of those scenes you see in horror movies. Chloe does not notice her, and maybe it is just an illusion for the spectators. Diane is arguing with customer service on call the following morning. When Chloe asks how long it will be down, she informs Chloe that it might be down till the end of this month. But suddenly Diane realizes and wonders how Chloe knows the call was about the internet. Chloe admits that she used the computer last night when Diane was sleeping, so she figured. Diane asked what Chloe was looking up, and Chloe lied that she was looking for a solution to fix her printer. When Diane is busy watering the plants, Chloe calls the pharmacy to ask about the pill. The pharmacist on the other end wonders if it is Diane since she seems to recognize the number. Chloe quickly hangs up so her mother cannot find out. Chloe then calls the phone directory to connect to any other pharmacy, only to get annoyed and end the call when the operator says that 99-cent service charges will add to the next bill. Chloe does not want Diane to know, and raises suspicion about her calling the pharmacy, so she avoids any means by which Diane can get to know. Chloe thinks of something, then calls a random number on the phone. A stranger answers and wonders if it is one of those sales or donations calls. Chloe denies it and asks him to do a Google search for her. The guy says he does not have time to help some stranger, but upon further requesting him and complimenting the guy, he comes around. He informs Chloe that trigoxin is a drug that treats severe heart conditions. When Chloe asks him to click on the images, the guy says he sees a lot of pills in the result, so Chloe asks him the color, and his answer surprises Chloe when he replies that it is a little red pill. She wonders if trigoxin is a red pill. Then what the hell is this green pill labeled after trigoxin? They go out to see a movie the following day, and Chloe keeps the green pill with her. During the movie, Chloe tells her mother that she wants to use a restroom, so she leaves. Obviously, she lies, and she goes straight to the pharmacy. Chloe cuts everyone in line and goes to the counter directly. Mrs. Bates on the counter immediately recognizes her. She shows Mrs. Bates the green pill and asks the name of the medicine. When Chloe informs her that it is under her mom's name, Mrs. Bates says it is confidential, and she cannot tell her. When she asks why she cannot ask her mom about these pills, Chloe cleverly comes up with an excuse that it is a scavenger hunt. She says that the next clue is about the medication her mom takes, so she comes here to ask all the way. After checking on her computer, Mrs. Bates thinks that it is a trick question. She states that Diane does not get these prescribed for herself but for her dog, and it is called Ridocaine, and it shakes Chloe down the core. Chloe asks what would happen if you give a human being Ridocaine. Just as she asks this, Diane comes hollering for Chloe. Mrs. Bates says that one's legs could go numb if he takes Ridocaine. Upon listening to this, Joel starts gasping for air. Chloe passes out as soon as Diane gives her an injection to calm her down. At home, Diane calls Kathy, aka Mrs. Bates, and apologizes to her for creating the scene today. She says that Chloe's doctor switched to a new medication a few days ago, and it is messing with Chloe's head. Diane asks Kathy to call Chloe and assure her that the medication she has been taking is perfectly safe. When Chloe wakes up, she quickly rushes to the door to find it is locked. She uses a pin to unlock the door and gets successful in it, but only momentarily because Diane has gone closing the door with a big wooden rod. Chloe thinks of a way to escape from the room, so she starts cooking up something with a few wires and motors. She manages to climb over the window and starts dragging herself onto the house's rooftop. After struggling for a while, she manages to get to a window on the other side of the house. She cracks open the glass of the window and gets in the room. As she gets down, she starts to breathe heavily. She looks to find the inhaler in her pocket, but it is not there. She drags herself back to her room after a lot of grinding to find the inhaler and catches her breath. As she opened the door of her room from outside in the process, she could now use a wheelchair. As she tries to use the lift to get downstairs with the wheelchair, she notices that the wire connection has been cut, and she can no longer use it. She pushes the wheelchair down the stairs, but immediately falls down the stairs. While she looks to get up, she discovers that she can move her toes. She manages to get herself into the wheelchair and dashes outside the house. Just as she hits the road, she sees a vehicle approaching. She hurriedly hides in the woods, realizing it might be Diane, but it was the mailman. She races in front of the van and asks for help. Shortly, Diane arrives at the scene. The mailman, Tom, stops Diane from seeing Chloe after Chloe tells Tom that Diane had hurt her. Diane tries to blackmail Tom by calling the police and threatening him. What would the police think when they find a teenager bleeding or bruised, found by an adult man? But she still finds no luck, and Tom refuses to let her see Chloe. So Diane asks to follow Tom while he takes Chloe to the hospital. Tom agrees to do that, and asks Joel whether to take her to the hospital or the police. Chloe asks to take her to the police. While Tom seats Chloe in the back of the van and looks to drive out of nowhere, Diane blindsides Tom and gives him an injection. Tom blacks out, and Chloe starts to panic. Chloe awakes to find herself back in the basement of the house. She surveys the room and is shocked to see a pile of mail in the bin. Among the mail, she finds a college acceptance letter, which Diane kept from her. She sees that her wheelchair is chained when she tries to approach a nearby box. Chloe opens the box and discovers pictures and files. When she sees a photo from her childhood, She is amazed to see a picture of herself standing and playing. She also finds a death certificate with her name and the time of death recorded as 2 hours and 11 minutes. The plot begins to unfold and takes us back to the beginning of the movie, where Diane asks the doctors if the baby is okay. Chloe also finds a newspaper clipping in the box with the headline, "Newborn Baby Snatched from Stockton Hospital," and a picture of a devastated couple who are likely her real parents. It also states that the abductor remains unidentified. The camera takes the viewers back to the very first scene, showing Diane crying after her daughter's death. Outside the baby nursery in the hospital, Diane looks at the other babies in awe. The scene returns to the present day as Diane enters the room and realizes that Chloe has seen the files in the box. Chloe asks Diane if she is her birth mother, to which Diane insists that she is. Chloe cries and says that Diane took her away from her birth parents. Diane argues that she saved Chloe from them. Chloe then questions whether she was ever truly sick. Diane proceeds to throw all of the green pills away and says that they will start fresh. Chloe accuses Diane of not doing this for her but for her own benefit. Diane quickly gets up and starts preparing something in a bowl. Chloe cries in the background and pleads for her life. Diane fills a syringe as Chloe continues to scream for her life. Chloe runs to the storage room and locks herself in. She sees hundreds of medicines and grabs a bottle labeled organophosphate, a chemical used in insecticides. When Diane tries to unlock the door, Chloe says that Diane needs her and drinks the chemical. Diane yells "no" and cries as she embraces Chloe. In the next scene, Chloe is undergoing surgery in an operating room, and the doctor informs Diane that Chloe had attempted suicide during her adolescence and needs to be evaluated by a mental health physician. Later, Chloe wakes up in the hospital and sees Diane outside the room. She calls the nurse by ringing the bell, and unable to speak due to a pipe in her mouth, signals for a pen and paper. The nurse provides her with a pencil and a sheet of paper, but before Chloe can write anything, an alarm goes off, indicating a critical patient. Diane rushes back into the room and removes Chloe's drips, placing her in a wheelchair. It turns out that Diane had been the one who set off the false alarm. The nurse returns to the room and finds Chloe missing, but sees that she has written "Mom" on the sheet of paper. The hospital speaker calls for security as Diane is seen holding a gun. An officer shoots at Diane as she falls over. The movie fast forwards to 7 years later. As an adult, Chloe goes to prison to visit Diane. Even though she still uses a wheelchair, she can now walk short distances with a cane. She visits Diane in the infirmary, who is bedridden, and begins to talk about her wonderful family and job. Chloe then produces 3 lidocaine pills that she had concealed under her tongue. She tells Diane that she still loves her and asks her to open her mouth, and the screen blacks out with this scene.